Yep, it's that time. That time. I in my like meme version of the U.S. presidents list. If you want a slight chuckle or something just to make your day slightly better, please go watch that if you really want to put yourself through that. But yeah, no, this is the real deal, and I said I would actually do this, like reality. Um, so yeah, here it is. Here it is, the exact same template as before. The second Cleveland is down here because I'm just gonna rank Cleveland as one term. So it's all 44. I would say 45, but again, Cleveland won non-consecutively, so yeah, there's only 44 here. I'm not gonna rank Joe Biden because A, he's not even on here, and B, it's kind of too early. But we'll get there when we get there. And obviously, again, this list is going to be based on how personally I would rank the presidents, just how I would, just what they did during their presidencies and what I agree with and definitely disagree with. So let's start with, I'm going to go in chronological order, up from Washington to Trump. All right, Washington, the man who started it all, without any real doubt or any question, he is S tier. I think it's very little debate because he literally set up America as it should be throughout its entire life. Properly governed, no real party system, just somebody just running the country, keeping it in check. And he didn't really want to lead the country. He was hesitant at first, but I think once people really gave him the edge after his first term, he ran again for a second term and decided that was all. Like, enough was enough. Everything was taken care of from him, and he decided to let everyone keep the presidency going. The only real issue with that is, oh boy, the division it caused. But I think that's about it. Washington, he's the man behind it all. Led us through the war, established how America should be. Father of this country. Pretty much the hero. The hero above all. S tier, without any real doubt. Adams, he handled the quasi-war well, but the Alien Sedition Acts, as everyone, including myself, will say, they were pretty bad. So I'd say he's like I'm torn between a low C and a high D. I'll give him a higher D, though. I'm really not... C, okay. Like, putting him in C tier, okay, but some people have him in, like, the A tier or something. No, the Alien Sedition Acts were horrible. What they were literally just controlling certain people that weren't U.S. citizens. Like, if they weren't citizens of the U.S., if they were on territories, they weren't allowed to act certain ways. That was a violation on not only, like, pretty much like the first few amendments, but on, like, citizenship as a whole. Like, the Amendment 1 and 5 alone were absolutely just violated entirely, and that's why he was only a single-term president. I'm glad that he was a decent vice president, but as a presidency, I'm only ranking them on their presidencies. I'm not going to rank them as people, because that'd be pretty easy. I know Washington would probably be in the middle of that list then, but yeah, John Adams, like 10 years ago you would have said he's like a B or something, but nowadays I feel like he's just not really looked upon as fondly. Jefferson, Louisiana Purchase, the Declaration of Independence, helping kind of put the Constitution forward. He's not quite S tier because of just the way he handled slavery. And the Embargo Act was all right, but it had a lot of things wrong with it. I'll put him in the A tier. He's definitely still one of the founding fathers, but not perfect by any means. Many people have him like the S tier. I disagree. He's an A. Thomas Jefferson's an A. He meant very well for this country. Madison, he did away with the Alien Sedition Acts, but the War of 1812 was kind of there, It was just kind of eh. I don't really think much of Madison, to be honest. The War of 1812 was all rightish, I guess. But if you're gonna remember Madison for one thing, remember him for putting the Constitution forward by a big margin. That and getting rid of the Alien Sedition Acts. That was pretty good. So, Madison, I'll put Madison in B. Could potentially be an A. Like, if people put Madison in A, I can kind of see that, but I see him as more of a B tier. Monroe. The Monroe Doctrine was actually pretty good. Not only that, but it was preserved for years, man. I think some bits of it existed for almost centuries, really. Sam Monroe definitely improved relations with the British and some prosperity in the country. I'll put him in the A tier, honestly. Many people are starting to like a decade or so ago, you would have ranked him in like the C tier because he was just kind of there. But nowadays, just realizing how far he's gotten us that, and he was the only president that was unopposed in the whole era of good feelings. It's just because of how good he did. So I'll put him in the A. Should I put him above Jefferson? I don't know. I'm torn between Jefferson or Monroe being the top of A. Many people really think highly of Monroe, and I kind of see that. John Quincy Adams, he was a strong voice against slavery, but other than that, there wasn't really much at John Adams, just some agricultural growth, which was good in its own right. Like I would say B, but again, just C tier because honestly, again, the whole election thing. Even I will admit it was kind of fishy at first. Because the House of Representatives decided, even though he lost both the popular and electoral vote, he just promised some guy, "Hey, I'll put you in this position if you win," or something like that. I don't know, but that's not the reason I'm putting him in C. The reason I'm putting him in C is because again, it's just not really much changed under him. I say he was still better than John Adams, though. John Quincy Adams was better than John Adams. Now, Jackson, you're probably thinking F, but I'm ranking them how they were as presidents and not people. That's the one thing that many people confuse Jackson for being a bottom tier for, which, spoiler alert, he's not. Many people modestly place him in the C tier, and I get that. I'd say because of his improvements to the nullification crisis, because the whole nullification crisis and ensuring the banks didn't break apart as badly, but instead creating a second bank would put him in A, but because of how unsavory he was towards natives, I'll give him a B, like a B plus or an A minus. I can see, but no, I'm more like a B or B plus, for Jackson. Again, solid leader, just not the. His policies toward Native Americans were terrible. I will admit that, especially nowadays. Van Buren would be C or probably on the same level as Jackson, but with the Panic of 1837, and not only him, but no one in his cabinet really did anything either. And just not really anything notable under him. Just kind of irrelevant, lost to time. I'll put him in D, but not because he's bad, but because he could have been good. But not because D kind of means bad, but D doesn't mean catastrophically bad. He's not an F, but he's a D though. Could have been C had the Panic of 1837 just not either been handled better or just simply not happened. Either of those would have put him in a C though. Harrison, I'm not gonna officially rank Harrison, but because he wasn't even president for that long, I can't rank him. I literally can't rank him. He was president for only a month. He in 1841 during his inauguration speech, not only was it 2 hours long, but it was out in the rain. He was only wearing he wasn't wearing a jacket, and then he caught a cold, which developed into pneumonia. And then he died. He was literally president officially for only a month, and he went out way too soon. But I feel like he could have been an A or a B maybe. Had he actually been president, he would have been probably not even I know. He could have been anywhere on this freaking S for all I know. But nah, I'm not gonna officially rank him. I'm only gonna put him in F because he just wasn't around for very long. Tyler, man, I'm really torn between. Should I put him in D? I'll put him in D. Tyler just wasn't. Again, just not really much at Tyler. The only reason I'm putting him in D is because he helped annex Texas. That and just kind of broker some sort of deal between us and the natives. Just kind of stop us from fighting as much. It wasn't as notable or as impactful or anything, but it was just kind of a more or less a lighter peace treaty to say the least. But other than that, this guy just wasn't. Not only was he not really notable, but he also got kicked from both parties and had a veto overturned. I think. I forget which one though. But nah, Tyler D, not notable. He could have been so much better had he just been more agreeable with the cabinet. Had he just went with what the cabinet wanted for once, but or needed rather, not wanted. But nah, he marched by his own drum beat, and that kind of. And if you march by your own drum beat too much as president, you kind of fall on your ass and kill yourself. Not Polk though. Polk was underrated in my opinion. I'm gonna say S. I'm saying S tier. He's a solid leader. He's a solid leader. There, I said it. If you want a president that keeps your promises, don't look to literally any president that's like LBJ onward, because not every single promise is kept. Not even Reagan's or Carter's, but rather, actually, maybe Carter's. I don't know. But Polk, nah, he vowed to get us California. He vowed to get us Texas entirely. He really vowed to get Oregon as well. He got all three of those, and then said, "I'm only going to be a one-term president and leave." He pledged that at the very beginning, and he kept his word. You know, he's not going to just be a two-termer just for the heck of it. He wasn't the nicest person, but again, I'm not ranking it on that. No, Polk is S tier, solid leader, really good, got us a lot of lands. He meant what he does. He did what he meant, and he meant what he did. Honestly, and again, like more presidents that run and promise to get like a lot of that done. More of that would be good. Like they're not going to be president just to be president for like no reason. Literally, like again, a lot of other politicians, but Polk, he literally just wanted that land to be part of us, and that's it. That's all he wanted. He just saw some things that weren't complete, and he said, "Let's just get this done." And yeah, lo and behold, we got it done. Now Taylor, I would also put in this incomplete category, similar to Harrison. I'm gonna be honest here. The Clayton-Belwar Treaty was actually not that bad. C tier. For those of you who don't know that, there was some land, like there was like some sort of like territory in the America, and we were trying to get it, but eventually we were fighting with the natives for it. But essentially, the whole Clayton-Belwar Treaty, we were just kind of like, okay, let's just leave this land alone, let them do their thing unless they attack us, and vice versa. So that was actually pretty good. Again, the reason he's a C and not like a B or higher is because again he just wasn't around very long. I think if he were around longer, again, who knows where he could have been? He could have been A, he could have been S, he could have been F for all we know. But I'll place him in C. I think he had again just a good amount of potential. Now Fillmore, call me crazy, I'm also placing him in C. I'm putting Fillmore in C. There, I said it. Fillmore is a C. The reason being the Compromise of 1850. I think that was actually pretty good. Again, like Fillmore is like less of a, like people think the Fugitive Slave Act was bad. That's why he's like a C. That's why he's a C and not like a B or an A or anything. But Compromise of 1850, that was helpful. For the most part, it was actually pretty helpful. I'll leave him in C. Again, just kind of. Imagine if he actually did run for a second term instead of just dropping out and then running in the election, like 2 elections later. I think if he ran the next election and actually won, I feel like, again, had he kept with his like more modest ideas and less of like the Fugitive Slave Act and the worst like more extremist ideas, he could have been again just really good. But nah, unfortunately, after him, the Whigs just kind of disbanded pretty much, and they just all went their separate ways. Pierce, we all know where Pierce goes. Pierce is F. There's no denying it. The Kansas-Nebraska Act and just trying to keep us all together by doing the opposite of what we want was really bad. Pierce, come on. Buchanan, you go in F2. At least Pierce tried to do something. You just sat there and thought, well, I mean, these people can govern themselves. Nope. Yeah, no, surprisingly, people are thinking, well, Buchanan, he was just a nothing president, so, I mean, he was more modest. Well, no, he wasn't even modest either. He just didn't want to deal with it. He just didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear it from anyone. He didn't want to deal with anything. Not the best way a leader should really go about their country. It wasn't even him just being non-political. He's plenty political. He just chose to ignore it. Lincoln, we all know. Lincoln, S. Should I actually order the tiers themselves? I probably should. Honestly, no, I don't even need to order anything else. Maybe this. There we go. But anyway, Lincoln S tier without really much of a doubt. Again, it was Lincoln as not only a thinker but an idealist that really set what America should be going forward when it comes to like rights for every human, pretty much. The reason he's not above Washington is because again the Civil War. You know that was kind of crazy, but that's honestly it for Lincoln's downfall. So that was literally just a nitpick. Other than that, Lincoln pretty much a perfect idealist, great thinker, great leader, definitely in the S category, and the first one to be unfortunately assassinated. I think again, like had he just run, had he who knows where he could have ended up? You know, like, could he have gone down? Could he be above Washington? You never know. Johnson, we all know he's F. Terrible president. John Andrew Johnson, he was horrible. He was absolutely horrible. You know, who knew that like just still maintaining like different rights for different people of color, and not to mention just kind of just again just honestly with how little he cared about people and him vetoing a civil rights bill and him almost being impeached and somehow being acquitted, you know, it's kind of bad. Yeah, Andrew Johnson, terrible president, F tier, trash leader. Grant. Now people love to throw Grant in like the bottom tiers because you know the whole corruption thing. And while that's true, um, he was also pretty good in the whole like Reconstruction thing. You know, so that was pretty good. I'll put him in. I'm not gonna rank him like A tier or anything. It was like kind of it was like Reconstruction was kind of like a way to not only again keep with well, similar to Lincoln's ideas, but to actually like fight and actually outright just outlaw like racial extremism, like the KKK. Trying to get rid of all that. But again, there was actually some corruption at the end. Just how like the government. The issue with Grant is just again he literally let anyone into his cabinet. Because he thought, oh yeah, I guess it'll be good. You seem to have some merit, so just make that part of merit count. And lo and behold, they would make everything that wasn't their merit more prominent than what was their merit. And lo and behold, that's why Grant's a bit lower in the upper half, so to say. So I'll leave him in B. Yeah, I'd say B or B minus is good for Grant. Now Hayes is a special case. Now he's not Washington good or Buchanan bad, but what I say is on more. Which one would I say he's more on par with? I'd say he's more on par with Washington than Buchanan. I'll put him in C, like a C plus, I'd say, for Hayes. No, he was not only the reason he's a C and not like a B or higher is because the ending of Reconstruction was really bad, and people, just kind of didn't believe in him, and just the KKK and all that coming back, that was pretty bad. But with the whole thing in Paraguay, see after, like once he got in office after the Three Alliances War between I think Spain, Argentina, and Paraguay. Paraguay was literally almost non-existent, and when I think either Spain or Argentina, I think it was Argentina, tried to take away pretty much the last part of Paraguay, Hayes stepped in and decided to side with Paraguay instead of the other two, which resulted in Paraguay being pretty much put back on the map, which was actually pretty good. That's why Paraguay loves this guy. Right now, if I were from Paraguay, then yeah, he'd be like S tier, no doubt. But I still say he's not a bad president. I'll leave him in the C tier for now. He's decent. Rutherford Hayes, a pretty forgotten figure in the American presidency. Not a bad president. James Garfield. This is another incomplete one. However, I think with Garfield's ideology of fighting back the worst parts of government, which is what Hayes should have gone for, by the way. I think had Hayes gone for that, he would definitely be higher. But Garfield full on embraced that in his campaign. So what Garfield would have been, or could have been, rather, but he was assassinated very shortly into his presidency before a lot from him got done. B tier. B tier. For what he could have done. I'm giving the edge to Garfield. I'm giving the edge to Garfield. There, I said it. Chester Arthur. He's no James Garfield, but he's on the same level, I'd say. So a B tier. The reason why is because of the. He's not an A because of the Chinese Exclusion Act, but he's a B because of the Pendleton Civil Service Act. That was actually like hiring, or rather establishing people in your cabinet based on how they are. I'm actually going to put him higher than Grant, honestly. Based on how you are as a politician, not just who you know or who knows you. It's what you want to bring to the table, your political merit, basically. And I think that's a really good reform under Arthur. And I think many people just really forget Arthur because, again, he was just a guy that filled in for James Garfield, or as they say. But truth is, I think Arthur was a pretty decent president, and he very well could have run again, but he had a lot of health issues, and he died in 1886. Cleveland, I think in terms of Cleveland's first term, for Grover Cleveland's first term, he'd be an A, easily. His second term, he would honestly be D- or F. So I'd say for how good his first term was, like the whole economic prosperity and all that, B tier. However, again, it's like the lower half of B tier because, again, his second term after Harrison, he tried to fix everything in the Panic of 1893, and he couldn't quite get that back on track. Just a lot of stuff. It was coming off the rails for him, and he couldn't. He tried to reform so unsuccessfully. He was very restrictionless government. He was definitely less. He ran a less restricted government, which I respect. But again, just had he handled the Panic of 1893 better, then yeah, he'd be an A, no doubt. But I think his first term far better than his second term to be remembered. B tier. That's where Cleveland is. I'll put Cleveland above Garfield because, unlike Garfield, Cleveland was president twice, actually. Now, Harrison, I haven't skipped Harrison. Harrison, the thing about Harrison, just a lot of stuff just kind of started going bad under Harrison. The Sherman Act was good, maintaining a better part of the economy, which was good, but other than that, D tier, not notable, not the best, He just kind of left a sour taste in the mouth of America for quite a few years for quite some time during his presidency, and then Cleveland came back and he realized that he tried to fix it, and he did so unsuccessfully. Now, people really love to give McKinley the bottom tier because of how he handled the Spanish-American War, which I'll hold against him. That was terrible. But he gained a lot of power for the country, and I think just the gold standard, that was pretty good. Like a C- tier, D+ or C-. I'll give him C-. He was definitely for some reason pretty notable. I mean, yeah, there was some prosperity, but Spanish-American War I will hold against him. So he kind of, on average, is a C or a C- maybe. He's not an F, but he's not like an A or anything. I'll leave him in C. He's not bad though. Now, people love to give Teddy Roosevelt A tier, S tier. 1912 was kind of stupid. That and trust busting was kind of cringe. B. A B+ though. I think if I ever made a top 10 presidents video, he'd be number 11. Either him or, I don't know, maybe another president. He'd be number 11. He'd definitely be on the lower half of a top 10 list for me. He's not perfect. He's not bad, don't get me wrong, but he's definitely not perfect. B tier. Taft is also pretty much not perfect. Dollar diplomacy works on and off for him, honestly. It was just it was good in some places, but kind of rocky in his latter years, and that's why he's not, again, just not perfect, but just kind of eh. He did continue the better parts of Roosevelt's policy, so I'll give him B. Again, just pretty much on the same level as TR. It's insane to think that these guys who ended up hating each other are on the same level. This guy right here. Do I need to say his name? This guy. We all know this guy. Woodrow Wilson. And you're probably thinking, well, he's an A tier because he established all this good stuff. And yes, minimum wage and voting rights for women are really freaking good. That's where the good stuff kind of ends. Not only did he begin the income tax and was absolutely racist as a human. Again, I'm not going to count that. Like, people love to go after him. When you really think about it, like, people love to go after him for being racist, but then you look at everything else he's done, that doesn't even cover the first 5 paragraphs. He just utterly upended the country. How so, you may ask? Well, he not only got us into World War I, he pretty much just used that as his incentive or excuse, or just to go after his political opponents or just people he opposed with the Sedition Acts. The whole 14 points thing was kind of stupid. League of Nations, that was a good idea on paper, but Congress didn't even turn that in. That, and just not to mention, he just had the government, like states, like, run everything top down by the elites, you know, like, everyone just thought, and for the fact that, okay, TLDR, F tier, worst. Oh, easily the worst. Like, give Buchanan some credit. He didn't try to reset the government. This guy did. Not only did he reset it, he resegregated it. He was radically expanding it whilst making it like, oh yeah, only people of color can work in these, like, lower places. Like, come on, dude. You can't call America land of the free then segregate everyone. Like, come on. Come on, dude. So Wilson, bottom tier for sure. Harding, he had the right idea, but the scandals kind of caught up to him. He's probably going to be the lowest in D. F plus, D minus, D minus. I don't want to rag on this guy too hard. He wasn't even, again, just not president for that long. I mean, Teapot Dome scandal, which he didn't know about, by the way, it really just hurt his legacy in the worst way possible. Again, like, he tried to give the best for Americans, but he couldn't keep it together, and then he had a heart attack and died. Now, Calvin Coolidge barely did much, but oh my gosh, so many things improved. Honestly, if there's one nitpick I have with this guy, he's just not, again, he just wasn't really an active person in politics. But that's my only real nitpick with this guy. This guy, he took over for Harding, economic prosperity, shrank the government and the national budget, two things that should alone put him at least within the top 5. Not only that, but he made like a more safer immigration policy where, like, if anyone wanted to enter legally, they wouldn't have to go through hell just to get in. You know, if they just, you know, come in legally and just document everything properly, then you're in. You know, it's not, they don't even have to wait 5 years or anything. Not only that, he signed the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924 and all that. I could literally go on and on. And for the fact that, again, this guy was seen as forgettable for most of the time, like, people would place him in like C tier. He's like, yeah, he's just kind of there. It really just, it's really crazy to see how people see see this guy like, yeah, this guy is kind of there, to this guy kind of does a lot. You know, this guy was crazy. This guy was amazing, myself included, because, again, this guy was just, I don't know why, just out of nowhere. He was just out of nowhere, you know. For the fact that, again, he kind of followed Polk's policy, or just only getting done what needs to be done in one term, or in Coolidge's case, a little bit more than one term. Yeah, this is another president that you really should learn a lot from. So Calvin Coolidge, S tier, modest leader, definitely not exactly a reformer, but rather just one who, again, only got done what needed to be done, just for the sake of everyone else. Hoover. Now, people love to say, "Oh, but Calvin Coolidge started the Great Depression." No, there was no real one or two people that started the Great Depression. But did Hoover handle it well? Absolutely not. I'd say Hoover would be like an F plus, honestly, because, again, like, he really tried, but just nothing would roll in his direction, pretty much, you know, just nothing helped him, you know. He tried his best to help the country, and, you know, nothing with just the lack of support for him, just kind of crumbled under him. Now, did FDR fix the Great Depression? Not really. He just kind of got the ball rolling faster for things, so to say. Yeah. Honestly, again, people love to throw FDR in like the S tier. I mean, yeah, but not only did he run for way too many terms, but he also just kind of, again, just didn't. He just, yeah, like his pursuit of World War II and some parts of the New Deal were pretty good. But imprisoning people in internment camps, hacking the courts, staying in office for way too long. I say he's like a C+. I'm not gonna say he's not terrible. He's not perfect though. He's a C+ for me. Because again, World War II and the New Deal were pretty big deals. And again, I think if he were a two-termer, just in those regards, and yeah, he'd be like a B or an A. But having like just more like his policy is just doing the same thing over and over again, even when they don't need to. Kind of just, it's just kind of, again, he was just kind of there in his last two terms, or three or one in, I don't know. He didn't serve a full 4 terms because he died in his 4th term. Truman, Harry Truman would be like much higher had he supported China better during the Maoist Revolution. Had he just provided more support, I think again he would have been like S tier easily. But his end of the Second World War was pretty good. I'm not gonna say he's perfect or anything. I'll put him an A. He was all right there. Dwight D. Eisenhower spearheaded NASA, the interstate highway system, pulling us out of Korea. Was pretty good. I think he would be S, but again, like I think had his foreign policy been better, he would be S. His foreign policy was pretty rocky in some places. I just think again, and also the Suez Canal crisis was pretty meh. I think he could have handled that better as well. JFK. Had he not been assassinated, I feel like he would definitely be regarded as like an A for me. But I think again, I forgot to order some of the tiers. I'll put him in. I'll put JFK in. I'll put him B. I'll put JFK in B. Roosevelt, Taft, Jackson. There you go. Sorry, I just had to reorder a couple things. So yeah, JFK is a B because Bay of Pigs and the start of Vietnam was kind of bad. Both of which were kind of like why, just why he spearheaded in those directions. But Cuban Missile Crisis and avoiding nuclear war in the best way possible, which is that's why he's in the B tier. He handled those like a boss. I just wish again there was more out of him, but unfortunately it just didn't happen that way because again he was killed, assassinated. Anything in LBJ is at the same level? Nope. He's in the D tier. I think had he left Vietnam alone, he'd easily be much higher. Vietnam alone, it just really hurts, because Vietnam, like he not only did he send more and more troops to Vietnam, like every chance he got, he literally lied to the people saying that we're not gonna like take Vietnam like head on. We're gonna be fine. We're not gonna be destroyed in Vietnam. The thing was, we absolutely got our butts handed to us, and we lost so many people in Vietnam. He literally lied to the people about it. The reason he's in D and not F is because, again, he signed in the Civil Rights Act and a lot of other good legislation as well. But the thing was, again, just the mere fact that pretty much everything else was just not that good under LBJ. So D tier, D plus, D tier, middle of D, I guess. Yeah. Middle of D. D plus almost. Nixon. Nixon, many people would also probably place in like the D tier, F tier. He founded the DEA, and he pulled us out of Vietnam. Two of things that alone should really put him in like the B tier just because of how, again, you just try to bring us back to how we really should have been. But the thing was about it, Watergate really sucked. Like that was, well, at the time it really sucked, but looking back at it now, it was not anywhere near the worst of America's catastrophes. So I'll place him in the. Should I place him in C plus? I'll put him like the C, like the upper C for me. Like Nixon again, could have been a bit more modest, but you know, for what he was, C plus. Could have been better. Ford was just kind of there, to be honest. There is not much to say about him. Modest leader, meant well. Will admit pardoning Nixon was kind of. I mean, he didn't want to keep the whole Watergate shebang from being over like complicated or over, you know, like prolonged or anything. I get that. C plus, just because again there wasn't much out of him, but he was modest for who he was. I think again he could have been far higher, but he's the only president who was never elected. Not only never elected vice president, but never elected the president. Carter. Many people place him in F tier. I think the Panama Canal Treaty, which pretty much just gave the Panama Canal back to Panama, and the Camp David Accords, which is again like another place where he was definitely very moderate and lenient, and both were really good. D plus, I'd say, for Carter. Could be a C minus, but again, just trying to bring down inflation in the latter years of his administration was, he did so unsuccessfully. But I'm not going to say, I'm going to again just leave it at Carter wasn't bad. He wasn't. Okay, well, actually, no, I take that back. Again, D is like kind of bad, but he wasn't horrible. He wasn't absolutely catastrophically horrible, as many people say. He's not an F, but I mean, had like again things gotten worse, then yeah, he very well could have been F. Then the Iranian hostage crisis, which he finally got out, but people love to credit Reagan for that. Reagan didn't do a thing for that. Carter was the one who brought the hostages out of Iran. Actually, yeah. Carter's like the top at D, pretty much the upper D. Reagan, I used to put an A. I feel like he's more about B plus now. The reason he's a B or a B plus is because the not the Iranian hostage crisis, the Iran-Contra affair and the slightly recessing economy over his years, the whole trickle-down economics, it worked for like a little bit. And everything else just kind of kept dipping under. He really tried, but again, just didn't work out for him. And the whole Iran-Contra affair where we like give like weapons to Iran like in secret, just kind of, well, it kind of raised some eyebrows, but everything else was pretty good. The end of the Cold War, and I guess you can say the end of the USSR, and just like the improvements everywhere else under Reagan are enough to put him in the upper half for me. But again, like I used to put him A, but he's so close to an A now. He's close for me. I'm not gonna say he is, but I'm not gonna say he's horrible president for it. Bush, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm not big on him. I'm really not big on Bush. There, I said it. The reason being is just again like when he could have after the whole Berlin Wall collapse, when he could have been really like outgoing, just kind of like more outspoken. He kind of took like a more like neocon approach, I guess you call that, where we just kind of backed away from it afterwards. Where again, like we should have established ourselves as dominant, but we just kind of didn't. That and again, the reason he's not again like an F or anything. Well, it's because again, like the Persian Gulf War, which we easily did well in, but everything else just kind of didn't really improve or change all that much. Bill Clinton, I'll place him in like the C tier. Nothing really new out of this guy. The economy got better. We had a surplus for a little bit, and that's pretty much it from Clinton. He was just he's just putting aside the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, which I think, as a Republican, I think that was the whole impeachment thing. Like, I think that the only presidential impeachment that was justified was Johnson's, in my opinion. But Bill Clinton being impeached, I disagree with. Yeah, that's the only. Like, Andrew Johnson's impeachment was the only impeachment that I did agree with. I didn't agree with Clinton being entirely impeached for it. You know, like that was bad enough, the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. But impeaching him for it, like, come on, you can't just throw him out of office. You know, again, could have been like B tier, but again, just nothing really out of him. That's all like significant or anything. He was just kind of there. Now, the issue with W. Bush is just the fact that he just wasn't really good at explaining himself and just kind of assumes that history is going to like explain it for him. I know I ripped that straight from like Ben Shapiro's video, but after watching that video, I know it's true because why else do you think people rank him lower? He was doing what he thought was for the best of the interest. Like, he handled 9/11 for the most part, I'd say decent, like in like a decent way. I just think I'll rank him in like C, like one spot above Bill Clinton, like in C tier. But I'm gonna be honest here, it's really not by much though. If he were to rank in D, I would understand because again, like domestic policy was kind of there, the whole Homeland Security thing. It wasn't the worst idea in the world, but I think it could have really been handled better. I feel like, I don't know how, but it could have. It really could have. And also, the No Child Left Behind thing, that wasn't, these ideas weren't the worst in the world, but they just felt empty or incomplete in some places, so to say. Again, just not a horrible leader. He started off as just kind of there, you know, like, yeah, and then he became the guy that led us through 9/11. That and the whole recession in 08 just kind of took a bite out of this last year. Obama, as of now, I think he's D tier. I know this is like, you're probably thinking that this is entirely political bias, but I don't know, man. Rise of ISIS, the increase in drone warfare, just the whole Obamacare thing, which we can all kind of now agree on was an atrocity. You know, it didn't do anything for us, you know? And just the economy not taking off as much, you know, just not a lot really improved, but people just love to call him progressive with no real change. Like, we all wanted, we're gonna get so much change. We're all gonna be back on the mat. Nothing really changed. What really changed? And Trump, oh boy, he is either pretty much the same place as Reagan for me. He's either a B+ or an A-. I'm gonna be honest here. I think COVID definitely isn't a good thing, so he's not an S tier for sure. Again, like, he had decent policies, so like, you know, like the whole trade war with China, that was not the worst thing in the world, believe it or not. That was better than actually going to war with them, believe it or not. You know, I know like that may have sounded crazy, but it was better than going to war with them. So, not to mention just a lot of stuff improving under him again, similar to Reagan. You know, and just a better economy overall. I think the one big thing with Trump, well, COVID. I mean, then again, he just didn't want to politicize it. I think that's why people think he downplayed it. He didn't want to politicize a virus. Yeah, it was a worldwide pandemic, so it affected everyone, but literally making it a political issue is just very irresponsible. And I think Trump wanted to avoid that the best he could, but I think he really could have gone about it better. I think, again, had he just kind of took like a more responsible approach to it, he would for sure be like with it like up here, but I'm gonna place him in the lower A tier. I think, again, had he handled a few things better, he would definitely be one of my higher ranked ones. He would definitely be like higher amongst my highest. But I think for now, while he's still, in my opinion, my best president in my lifetime, I'd still say that again, he's nowhere near perfect. The way he speaks, you know, again, I'm not gonna I'm not going to make that an issue. I think his big thing was not only COVID, but just, again, just, he's all in all just, his policies, some were like a bit incomplete. His tax policy could have been a bit better, but I think for the most part, Trump, not a bad leader. People love to throw him in F tier. You're confusing him for how he was as a politician to how he was as a president. And I just don't really think that's our responsibility. And, of course, Biden's not on this list because, again, he's not even on this template. And again, he's been president for how many months now? Like 6 or something? But where would I rank Biden? Good question. He's definitely not up here, though. Definitely not in, like, the S tier, A tier, B tier. He's... I'll save that for another day. But there you go. There you go. There's my tier list. There's who I think are the best and worst presidents, ranked in that order. The tiers themselves are ranked. The presidents within the tiers are ranked. And I stand by these. I literally stand by all of these. There you go. In retrospect, you might rank a few things differently. You might put Roosevelt higher. But both of them, honestly. You might put Nixon or Reagan lower. I don't know. That's not for me to decide. This list, how I would rank them, that's up for me to decide, and it's right here. You're looking at it right here, right now. There you go. That's my U.S. President's tier list. And, hey, if you like this video, like it, subscribe to this channel if you want more tier list content. I'm honestly, if you want me to make more tier list content, lo and behold, I'll do it for you. Yeah, that's about it. Again, if you want to support this channel, hit that like button, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on my next video, whatever that's going to be, a meme, a tier list, and even a discussion video if you want me to do that. But for now, see you later, have a nice one, goodbye.